The beauty of imperfections is that it always can be used for good. The beauty of struggle is it always can be used to encourage someone in the future. But it also, again, is not going to define who you are. It's just going to continue to refine you, continue to allow you to grow, continue to allow you to learn. We are in a new month here at Moxie Uncut, and that means we have a new theme. So this whole year, it is just me and you hanging out. And this month, I wanted to talk about resilience in action. Last month, we went over all that it meant to just self-care, but really love ourselves deeply. And when we start to love ourselves deeply, then we have a bit more room, I would say, a bit more room to grow in our resilience, to be able to step back into the day to day. And so today's episode is all about grace in the imperfection. Grace in imperfection. We got to be able to say that. Grace in imperfection. Because imperfection is not failure. And yet we often chase perfection. I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist. I have friends who fall in that category or relate in that Enneagram. That is not necessarily me, but I do like to highly achieve. I do like to be validated for my worth. And the truth is, most of us have some sort of way that we receive love in this way. But the reality is perfection is an illusion. And grace is what makes resilience possible because none of us are perfect. We are actually made flawed. Like we were made perfect in his image, and then we sinned and we became flawed, and we're all sinners. So we just have to accept that imperfection is part of this world. That's the natural makeup of what's going on in our society. So I want you guys, as we go through this episode, to understand that we're not here to be perfect. And in fact, I love saying we're perfectly imperfect because all of our imperfections make us who we are. And in those imperfections, we get to continue to grow. We get to continue to see ourselves shine in different ways. And we all have different talents that the Lord has made us exactly who we are supposed to be. And so God doesn't need us to be perfect. His grace is enough. It even says that in 2 Corinthians, right? But he said to me, he says this, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. That's 2 Corinthians 12:9. And he talks through that. And that's throughout the whole Bible. It's biblical that his grace is enough. And when we embrace imperfection, we allow space for growth. We allow space for learning. We allow space for this divine strength to come and live through us. And so I encourage you guys as you step into today, and if you're feeling a little down, to remember his grace is enough. And I want you to know that perfection is also a myth because progress is actually the goal here. Many of us have unrealistic expectations of who we should be that might have started from childhood and how it stemmed from that. It just might be over a certain period of time. You've had certain bars set for you. And so we start to put ourselves in these boxes or say we need to hit these certain mile markers or these milestones when the actuality is that's a myth. And so we have these unrealistic expectations and we hold ourselves to really impossible standards thinking that we can just get it right and we can do that enough, right? And then we'll be worthy, then we'll be successful, then we'll be finally enough. That if we can do this, then finally people will see X, Y, and Z, right? You can fill in that sentence in that blank. But perfection is always a moving target. The goal isn't to be flawless. That's not our goal here, but it's to be faithful and continuing to show up, to be faithful and continuing to get up and try again, to be faithful and continuing to move forward and to make that promise for yourself. I can think over and over and again from my childhood all the way, not even just in entrepreneurship, right? But like even when I was growing up, thinking about these certain steps or these certain activities that I was involved in. For most of you probably don't know. I mean, I was involved in everything, from sports to music and whatnot. And I think my parents did an amazing job of like, get up, wipe yourself off and move forward. Now, I would say if you grew up in that era where like wipe yourself off and move forward, there's also some negative to that where we don't allow ourselves to like process fully or maybe see the failure. Or, again, we are a bit harder on ourselves as well. But what I learned in that is that I can always get better. Like there's always progress. And a lot of the times I'm actually not worried about people around me. I compete a lot with myself. And so that's where that grace comes in as well as sitting back, relaxing. Relaxing might be the wrong word, but sitting back, understanding how to reset and give yourself grace as you move forward through the learnings and through the motions, because again it's a moving target each season that we come into, from single to being married to motherhood to an empty nesters, like all these different seasons. There's something else in front of us that we potentially are going after, and so continue to be confident in yourself, and at the same time know that God isn't expecting us to finish perfect. He's not expecting us to reach this certain marker and then again we're worthy. What he is asking of us to do is just to keep going, to have that motivation, to keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep going. And so as we move forward, that is how resilience is built. It's built through these little moments that we have where we take a deep breath and we continue to move forward. And the beauty of grace, so the title of this, the reason I titled this episode Grace in Imperfection, because yes, we're imperfect. Perfection's a myth, but grace is what fuels this idea of resilience, not this idea, this muscle of resilience, right? And this whole month, I want to be talking about what it means to be resilient in action. We often talk about resilience as pushing through and persevering, but what if resilience is actually about giving yourself grace to just keep going? It's not necessarily like gritting your teeth and grumbling and also beating yourself up in the process. No, resilience is giving yourself grace in the motion of continuing forward. And true resilience isn't about never making mistakes. It's about not quitting when you do. And so I believe sometimes we can get this backwards of, okay, like I made a mistake. I'm going to beat myself up about it. I'm going to continue forward. But then you never let go of that, right? Because again, you still in the back of your mind were like, I should have hit this. I should have hit this marker. And resilience is more than that. It's persevering. It involves forgiveness. It involves grace. And it allows you to make those mistakes, learn from those mistakes, but keep moving forward and not quitting through those mistakes. So I just want to think through that as we continue forward, because grace is really the fuel of resilience. And every day is a fresh start. We talked a lot about this last month of like every moment, every day, like you can decide, mindset shift, decide to kind of start over. And so every day is a fresh start. Give yourself some grace. Understand God gives you grace every day. And so we need be a little bit more nice to ourselves as we continue to press forward. I also want to make sure you guys know that failure should never define us. We should never let it define us, but it should refine us. So not define us, it should refine us. That's a tongue twister, guys. But I want you to get this. Failure should not define who we are. It's not our identity. But in the process, failure should refine who we are, because we constantly learn, we constantly get to grow. And in that, we build resilience. And when we have more resilience, we're able to push through and continue forward. Lastly, I love imperfection because imperfection is what makes us so relatable and impactful for the world around us. People don't connect with perfection, right? We can look at the grids and we can look at people's lives and we can be like, ooh, maybe like we struggle with comparison of that because it looks so perfect, but there's a disconnect in that because it is so perfect. So what people connect with is authenticity. And when show up in your authentic self, when you show up in your honest self, when you show up and you build that trust and that relationship, that changes everything. So think about the people who have impacted you the most in your life. Were they perfect? Or were they real and honest and willing to share their struggles? I love when I meet people in person and they look at me They say, "Oh my gosh, you're just like you are on social media." And I'm like, "Why wouldn't I be?" Or like here, I think we are called to be real. We're called to be in relationship with one another. And some of my top core values is community and relationship. And I care so deeply about you, even though I don't know you. I care about how God has created me. I care about the vessel that I am and how I can encourage you. And so my hope is in all the platforms that I'm on, it's encouraging, that it's not threatening, that it's not perfect, that you guys get to see me as I am. I show up sweaty sometimes after workout. I show up like this. Everyone watching the video, I mean, I never look always put together when I even do these podcasts because it's real and I just want to have a conversation with you. So when we embrace imperfection, when we create that space for genuine connection and vulnerability and impact, that is when real connection really starts because it's genuine, relationships build, and people can relate to you. And that is also how we can come together. When we share our struggles, it makes us feel less alone as well. And I really feel that in entrepreneurship, especially in we have a fun model, a hybrid model. And when you're in this weird predicament of a model that you've created, it's really beautiful to connect with people who are doing social good and doing it in business and understand the lingo that not only the lingo that you talk, but some of the struggles you're going through. And so I have had so many people in my life who have been so vulnerable with me, who've opened up to me, who have shared their struggles with me. And that has allowed me to continue my impact because I realized, wow, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. And it's allowed me to continue to put one foot in front of the other instead of close the door because I've had people around me to encourage me in that. So the beauty of imperfections is that it always can be used for good. The beauty of struggle is it always can be used to encourage someone in the future, but it also again is not going to define who you are. It's just going to continue to refine you, continue to allow you to grow, continue to allow you to learn. So don't let this idea of perfection hold you back. Allow yourself to work through all of it with courage, because overall, progress is the goal. We want progress to continue forward. This whole idea of perfection is a ridiculous myth. So let's continue forward. We're not yet finished with the race that we were set on in this world. So let's continue forward. Let's keep growing. Grace is this also fuel of resilience, right? So understand that by allowing to have grace on yourself and to love yourself deeply, you can fall. You can fall hard, but because you have grace and love for yourself, you will rise again. And that is really, really important. My friend Stephanie, their slogan, their saying is rise together. And I love it so much because, again, it's this idea of you're not alone and we're in community and we will rise. We'll rise together. And for you, you will rise again. You just have to learn how to, again, be a little bit nicer to yourself. And then last, imperfection makes you relatable. So don't be afraid to share your struggles. God can use imperfections for good. So when you come and you share your struggles, or, if even if you did something, I don't know, just not in the best manner, but you come and you ask, you say sorry and you apologize. Like all of these are real feelings and real actions that we can walk through that not only make us better humans, they make us better leaders as well. So, my encouragement for you this week and my question for you, I have a couple questions that I want to leave you with this week. One, where have you been holding yourself to an impossible standard? I don't know what you're doing right now, but maybe you come back to this. But if you have time to reflect, I really would love for you to jot these questions down and think about it. Where have you been holding yourself to an impossible standard? How would things shift if you embrace progress over perfection? And what's one area of your life where you need to give yourself more grace this week? That changes almost every week, but this week, what is one area in your life where you need to give yourself a little bit more grace? Friends, As always, it is amazing hanging out with you. I just like imagine us at a coffee table. So if you feel that we just had coffee together and it was just me talking at you for an hour and you want to talk back to me, uh find me on Instagram. If you're not already following, because obviously you're listening to this episode, but direct message me, reach out to my website, leave a comment on the podcast. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with your friend who you believe needs this message today. As always, tag me on Instagram. And I hope, if anything, you know that you are going to embrace grace and imperfection this week. That's what I want you to leave with. Embrace the grace and imperfection. And as always, friends, Moxie on.